Hi, I'm Jay Drakford. Today I'm going to be talking to a gentleman by the name of Paul Fry. This has been a while in the making. I've been speaking to Paul for on and off for over a year, listening to his stories, read his superb book that we're going to be talking about today, I'm sure. Paul spent his lifetime in journalism, locally and nationally as well, and has got some amazing stories. And just from the one book alone, it's been great. Paul's about to release a second book titled Town of Talent.
Town's got talent.
Town's got talent. There we go.
Yeah,
there we go. The joys of Zoom.
There it is. In proof form.
And we're going to talk about it, but Paul's got a prolific career. He knows lots of local Stevenage stories that we've already been talking off camera, so I'm hoping we'll capture it perfectly. But let's go for it. So, hi, Paul. How are we doing?
I'm very good, mate. Yeah, very good. Yeah, looking forward to it. It's been fun already, so let's just pick up where we left off, eh?
So, coming in, you moved to Stevenage in the 60s from Croydon, is that right?
That's right, yeah. We lived in this kind of condemned flat above a butcher's shop. It had been condemned for 30 years, and there were kind of rats the size of cats living in it. And the stairway was not lit at all. We were 2 floors up, and so imagine them in the dark, mum coming down with a pram and a broom to fend off the rats. And so, coming to Stevenage and getting a lovely 3-bedroom house with a long garden with 2 kids by then must have been a dream for her. I mean, but it was difficult. Like a lot of people at that time, they moved away from all their support network, their friends, and had to build a new life. And I think, the town is what it is because of what those people did and went through, and largely they descended at much the same time, didn't they? Over, with the 6 new neighbourhoods that were built. And, the population's obviously grown since then, and the spirit's changed, but it's still the same town ultimately.
So my family moved out from London as well. They moved up and lived in where was it now? Gosh, Peartree, just Peartree Spring. Nan and Grandad.
I know it well. Yeah.
My nan ended up running Bedwell Community Centre from the day it opened until she retired. And now my auntie carries the torch. So Stevenage is completely in our blood. It's an amazing place.
And people knock it, don't they? But actually, I've said in this kind of new book that the spirit of the town you can't put down. And there's something in the water. There's something about the place that's produced so many prodigious, talented people, not just in sport, but in the arts as well. You're going to look at those murals in town and you go, what, them? What, who, them?
I know. I went to London midweek actually, and went through with my kids, showing them everything. I said, I know the man that's written a book about this. Yeah. This is going to be terrific. It's just amazing. You get off the train, go through it. Yeah. Like you say, it's not just sport, is it?
But it doesn't actually tell you. It's a wonderful piece of art. But it doesn't tell you who they are as people or the backstory. Actually, there's a nice line in the book from Suzanne Rayapan, who's a badminton player, played badminton for England. And she lives in Arlesey, and she comes trolling off the train and walking through one day with her daughter. And her daughter goes, "Mummy," pointing at the mural. And the daughter and Suzanne's going, "Oh, yeah, that's right." And then the girl brings her right back down to earth by saying, "Where's Daddy?" It was just great. She said, you can't, with kids, they'll always level it off for you, won't they?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So you moved to Stevenage. Whereabouts did you live?
We lived in Broadwood Crescent, just not far from the ground, Went to Roebuck School.
Which is crazy. I know your address because it's in the book, but it ends up that my last house I was in is 5 doors away from you.
No.
Really? Yeah, so you were 210, I was 201.
Oh, why? Oh, you was on the opposite side of the road, though, weren't you? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah. But yeah, it was a great community there. And in fact, it's weird. My mum's now down in Pinewoods. And some of the old neighbours, are living there as well, or have lived there over the time. So it's almost like the community shifted from those houses down into the little Warden controlled flats. So that kind of keeps things going for her. Yeah, I mean, it's great.
A lot of your kind of early time is obviously, as we mentioned before, in Journeyman, which is obviously out to buy now.
It is, yeah. That's on Amazon, yeah.
And it's fantastic. I've passed it around to a few other people to read as well.
Fantastic.
But you ended up going to school at Roebuck.
I did, yeah, and I enjoyed it, and I've got happy memories of school. In fact, I remember my mum was talking about the other day. I went back when I was at college to do a work experience for a fortnight, and the head mistress, Mrs. Woodruff, was absolutely fierce. Actually, it was Mrs. Chapman, the deputy was Mrs. Woodruff, absolutely fierce. Everybody was in fear of this woman. and an old tyrant. And yet when I met her, went back to school, she couldn't have been nicer. And my mum worked in the greengrocers at the Roebuck,
Yeah.
and Mrs. Woodruff came in every day after I did that. Oh, Paul, make a great teacher, make a great teacher. And my mum said, in the end, she was just getting fed up. I don't think he wants to do that. I don't think he wants to do that. And I did consider teaching, but I knew I just wouldn't make A, a living out of it, and B, I wouldn't have enjoyed it so much, you know. It's just funny how things move. So I never really seriously considered it. Yeah.
Well, it's crazy. My children have also then gone through Roebuck School, and then we have a mutual friend, or was your teacher, Alan Deakin.
I know. Yeah, he was brilliant. He turned me on to words, really, because we used to have these sessions where he'd play some classical music, and then you'd have to write an essay of what it suggested to you. And it was the first time I can remember ever at school getting any proper praise from it, because generally mine was must do better, or, you know, could try harder. But this, he really got me turned on to English, and it was so lovely to hear from his widow. It was just such a nice thing that you put us in touch like that. And she sent me such a nice note, and I was really happy to sort of just send her a book and acknowledge what he did. It was probably the first turning point, you know, in mapping my path through to where I am now, really.
Yeah.
And he was brilliant, really good teacher. And
well,
then
Alan and Joan were family friends of ours.
Yeah.
So I really got to know Alan more once he'd retired.
Yeah.
He ended up working with my uncle, and you're a Stevenage guy, so you'll know of this place, at the Joe Burns washing shop.
I do remember. Yeah.
Joe Burns up at the Glebe. My uncle ran that before it ended up shutting a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
So he used to work with my uncle Dave in the shop, and those two together were brilliant. There was jokes galore everywhere.
Yeah.
And Alan was a great guy. So it was lovely to find out you knew of him.
Yeah, but never really knew him, you know, other than as a pupil-teacher relationship. Never knew him outside school or anything. And you wouldn't know where your teachers lived. You didn't, you know. It's kind of one of those things. They were in the community, but you never saw them. And I don't know whether they had a mask on or something to hide from you after that. But in case you plagued them. But yeah, no, they were happy days there. And then Nobel too. Although I screwed up my O levels and had to stay back a year, which was again the making of me. I was the youngest in the year, so it was really no big drama. But I wonder how kids now would take to it all. I mean, I wasn't aware of any bullying. Well, funny enough, I spoke to Barry Birmingham at the school. He's one of the teachers there, and he said, you know, I did that too, and it must have been a thing maybe of that age, or the law changed to enable or to take account of the fact that children develop at different ages, and, you know, being an August baby, somebody who was a September baby the previous year has got a massive advantage on you in development.
Sure.
And so, I stayed back and I ended up with all the O levels I needed, went on to college at Stevenage and took off from there. So Nobel I lot to, and I'm so pleased that with this new book, I'm going to do a day, a kind of day up there talking to kids and signing books and whatnot. And it's their 60th anniversary this year. And there's a big thing on the 16th of October. So I think there'll be a lot of old faces that I don't recognise.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked closely with Nobel as their new school was built as well. Same as the school that I work at. We were very, very lucky and fortunate that building schools for the futures got pulled a day after Marriott's and Nobel got signed off. So we were very fortunate. I've met Barry quite a few times. Fantastic
nice guy. Yeah.
If you've not been back to that school, it's completely unrecognisable.
Well, I went to the old one at Telford Avenue, and I thought, I was such a shame when I heard that was being pulled down. I thought, what a waste. It was fairly new when we moved into it. So I'd say it's 60 years old, and I think it must have only been about 7 or 8 years old when I went there. And so everything was shiny. We had language labs, and we had science labs, and we had kids building cars and stuff like that. And it was a grammar school the first 2 years I was there. And then all the good teachers left when the grammar school system collapsed, and then we shared the premises with what was a girls' school over the way, which is now housing, for about a year or so. And but the playing fields, I just remember being out in the playing fields, kicking football every lunchtime, playing cricket, and, you know, all the sports. We even had, I remember one year we had somebody come and teach us golf, which I think was great.
Wow.
And I think that was a national kind of enterprising program that they brought in. because Graham Bowles at Barnwell said he introduced, fencing and all sorts of other weird sports to kids.
Oh, he's
Some
brilliant.
of them
Graham's
took it up.
superb.
Graham,
Yeah.
I think, is again someone who I've included in the book, and he rightly so because of his contribution to sport in the town. But
Definitely the sports Stevenage.
Yeah.
Anything that's innovative that's happened around schools in sport, you'll always find Graham there, and he's just such a brilliant character, and always wants the kids to be out there and being active.
Yeah.
So
many of the people in the book had been to Barnwell, and kept going back to, he was one of yours as well, and you go, oh yeah, I remember him, and you could get a bit of insight. One of the things when you're doing a profile is to get an insight from other people as well, because you'll get a version of their life from them, but you'll get a different anecdote from someone else, and it will just spice it up and give you a different take on it altogether. I mean, one of the best things with this new book is the Lewis Hamilton interview, and I didn't do it. I have to admit, I did a bit from cuts and research, but it was done by Gary Young, who's written the foreword to the book, and he did a big interview for the Guardian not 7 weeks ago. And he gave me his transcript. So he said, you can use anything that hasn't been used in the piece I've written. And that's fair use. You can use 3 or 4 paragraphs of what he has written. So it was the most amazing interview in that Lewis relaxed and opened up to him. And I think it's because they had a shared youth in Stevenage, and they both experienced racism, both being black. And I mean, Lewis was saying that his teachers stood by as kids called him the N-word in the playground and things like that. To hear it kind of like that so blandly it took me aback, I must say. And even Gary saying how much racism he experienced. I wasn't aware of it. I don't know about you when you were growing. I wasn't aware of it.
No, I mean, I was born in the early 80s.
Yeah.
The only one real big racism I ever saw was playing football myself.
Yeah.
Where someone did turn around after, admittedly, a bad tackle, and then called him the N-word.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the FA came down hard, considering I was only playing for Neville at the time. Got a year's ban from football, and absolutely rightly so.
And yet, there's a lady in the book who is a woman footballer, works for Tottenham now, and she was racially abused by a Sheffield United player, and the girl only got a 6-week ban, and you think that's not enough. It's got to be hard. Like the year is exactly as they should be doing. So the WFA obviously have fallen down on the job, and it's again, one of the things it touches on so many different aspects of life. And I remember Paul Bogut saying, that he learned so many life lessons from his time in sport.
Yeah.
And it's true. And I feel that you're involved with the school. I think it's quite sad to see the demise of competitive sport in schools, because we can't have losers. But you stick them outside in the real world, when they finish school, they'll soon find that there are losers in life. And they need to come to terms with it.
I was speaking to one of the. I'm going to hop around a bit here, so apologies. Yeah. I was speaking to John Ashton last year at the football club, and I said to him, "Come on," I said, "Tell me what these youngsters are like when they come through from academy football. How does this all work?" He said, "The biggest problem you've got is that nowadays you can't teach someone how to win because academy football is all very much about being athlete central." That these players are then coming into first team football and don't know how to come back from a 2-1 down in the 70th minute. It's all about just them and them only, which I find fascinating, really. If we take one of our clubs, Stevenage, we spoke about that earlier. Young lads that have come in like Jack Smith now, who's having a very, very good time in the first team. But they just don't understand that winning mentality or how to get back from losing, which is
and having their career taken away from them and coming back. You look at Kevin Phillips, he was let go by Southampton, told that's you over. He takes his final wage packet of 136 quid, goes and does a little bit of work for his mum at Sunblest, stacking lorries, and then gets another chance through Ian Allington, who of course is in the book, at Bulldog. And it all kicks off from there. So because he's had it taken away, he appreciated it. When the chance came again, I'm not taking that from me. And I think the ups and downs, as you say, you're right with the academy system. It costs its people too much. But that said, I mean, there's a great interview with Dan Ballard, who's at Arsenal, one of your lads.
He's one of my boys here,
He should be in your first team. He's a Northern Ireland international. He's played in World Cup matches. He's marked the Erling Haaland in one of his first games, and
watch that game. Yeah,
got a pasting in the first game, but did very, very well in the second. Didn't give him a kick. And he's doing really well at Millwall on loan. Won promotion Blackpool last year. And then that lad, who comes across as a really lovely lad, I have to say.
He's brilliant.
He is biding his time. He was released 3 times by Arsenal. And
I know. Do you know the story of how it came about for the last signing?
Yeah, and the great story with Liam Brady letting him go.
I've not heard that one, but I saw someone on Twitter after seeing about your book, or maybe on Liam Brady's at Stevenage in a couple of weeks, I believe. Yeah. Someone put it on there, so
you need to ask him about how he let Dan Ballard go, because he didn't in the end. Dan Ballard broke down in tears in his office, and after about 10 minutes of calming him down and all the rest of him, he said, "Look, I tell you what, I'll give you another couple of years. I'm leaving, and this guy, the new Jonker's come in. Andrew Jonker came in. He said, look, you take your chance." He says, I was going to let you go, but and his dad was trying to tell him all the way down, no, you might get let down, and Dan just refused, and look where he is now. He's clinging on.
So the story, as far as I was aware, and I don't know if it's in your book, is that basically he was on trial at Stevenage, was going to sign.
Yes, he was. Yeah,
he was there at Stevenage and got a call from Arsenal in the morning and said, "Oh, Dan, how you doing? You injured? You playing? What's going on?" And he was going to sign for Stevenage in the afternoon.
Yeah.
They said, "Oh, could you possibly come in? We know it's not your usual position, but we need someone at centre back. Can you come and do it?" And he said, "Oh, who are you playing against?" And it was one of the Milan teams.
It was, yeah.
I'll go on, then I'll give it a go. I went in, and then look where he is now. And I actually firmly believe, and I know Dan very well, he's a smashing kid.
Yeah.
I think potentially he could be Arsenal captain one day.
They are talking, Northern Ireland think of him as the next Johnny Evans. And, that is not light praise. That's, and he's getting rave reviews at Millwall at the moment. I think he could be a superstar in the making. And you sent a list of questions earlier. Who did I admire as Stevenage footballers? And there weren't many. I think the only 2 that I can really say that I thought were brilliant were Johnny and Sean Brooks. And I think Sean was probably the most naturally gifted footballer the town has produced, captain England schoolboys. And I saw him play at Wembley, and it looked like they put a bloke out there. He was that good. And I saw Bobby Moore in that's in the journeyman book. I saw Bobby Moore, who was pundit. I bumped into him in the gents. I looked across and I thought, hang on, you're Bobby Moore. And I was going to shake hands, but I thought maybe I should wipe it on a velvet cushion first somewhere before shaking hands. and eventually we chatted on the way back to the press box, and he said, that kid, he said, will do really well, but I fear he's in the wrong era. Because there's too much now. It's all work rate. He can unlock a defence. He's got great passing range, but he said he won't work hard enough, and I don't believe he'll make top draw. And he was right. So he wasn't a bad judge. But yeah, and Johnny, of course, was brilliant. He played for Nepworth like yourself years ago. And played at Stevenage, of course, in some of the first matches I ever watched at Stevenage. And he was just awesome. I played against him once in Sunday football, and he sat me down in the centre circle with a sway of his hips, literally sitting on the deck. I wondered, what's going on here? And then he used to take the piss out of me, because I've seen him on the train coming back from London, and he'd go, "Oh, so you got to see it again then." Brilliant. He was such a lovely man, really lovely man. But,
it's funny when you talk to somebody who's got a mutual love for the game or anything local sport, you've just brought back literally a memory that I'd completely forgotten about. Yeah. So you're talking about someone that you played with, and all of a sudden, in my mind, comes Paul Bowgett.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Paul Bowgett, I played with at Nebworth, and he was in his 40s, and no one could get near him, but he was just unbelievable. And I also managed to play this was at Bradbury End as I first started my adult football. Played with Danny Dance and most of his sons, and Tim Jolly.
Yeah.
And that was just unbelievable. To play with Dance as everyone knew him was just unreal.
Well, I think probably Danny's probably the only other one I would bracket with those 2, because again, he was naturally talented, and I don't think he was overly bothered if he made a career in the game out of it. He was just happy to play. And actually, it was a thing with some of those Foxes boys. I think they actually enjoyed playing more for Twin Foxes on a Sunday than they did on the Saturday, getting paid for it. They just actually for the love of the game. And Boge talked about that a bit, and he also told a great line about how they found Vinnie Jones. Their normal training venue was Imber Court, and it was at Wealdstone at the time, and they couldn't train there, so they went up to a local park up Hendon Way, and Vinnie's pulling a trailer, cutting the grass, and says, "Hey lads, any chance of joining in?" And of course, nobody knew who this lad was, and it turns out that set Vinnie Jones on the way to greatness. How your life can change with just a chance thing like that. And even Boge was playing for Letchworth when he got picked up by Spurs. The scouts that picked him up were watching the centre forward, not him. And he kept the centre forward quiet, and someone said maybe we should come back and have a look at him. And that's how
he was unbelievable.
He was.
I couldn't get around him as an 18-year-old lad in the prime. I just couldn't get near him. He was just unbelievable. The way he read the game and what he used to do to you. I've never been roughed up so much in my life. I take pleasure of saying that.
He had to do a John Terry when he picked the trophy up when they won the Gola League and the trophy. He won the trophy when we played, but he was, I think, was suspended or injured for the final game when they picked the Gola League trophy up. And so he's there in his coat and everything. And I just pictured him with a shirt underneath, like John Terry, tearing it off. But I don't think he actually did.
Well, look, before we move on, we've touched on Journeyman. The name gives it away. Diana Heisel and the Hand of God. Very quickly, before we move on to Town's Got Talent. Tell us what else we'll expect from this book.
I was working at the Mail on Sunday the night Diana died. So, I was on a late, we called it the graveyard shift, which was not a great name for it given the circumstances. But that story broke about 2:30, and the latest we could put anything together for the paper was about 2:45. And there was just a bare staff on, and we then had to scramble people back to the office to cover. And I saw the pictures that came in from the scene from from the paparazzi that were never printed. We could never have run them, but to me they stacked up they threw away all the conspiracy theories, and I think she wasn't wearing a seatbelt. She was sitting when they took her picture in the footwell with her head against the passenger seat. Dear. And she didn't look particularly battered up, but there was a trickle of blood coming down her ear, which suggested it was a percussion injury. And so, it was a drunk driver at the end of the day, drunk and drugged, and that's all there was. All the Philip wanted to kill him and all that sort of stuff was nonsense, absolute nonsense.
I remember working that morning, actually. I was working at the swimming pool in town as a lifeguard. Oh. And really, for me, it was the first kind of very famous person that passed away. And it was just horrific.
Our offices were in Kensington, and I remember going on the Wednesday to Kensington Palace just to have a look, and the flowers had just started to arrive. You couldn't get through the gate by Friday. It was just unbelievable. If you had a florist around the corner, you'd have made a mint. It was just mad, absolutely mad. And it was just a frenzy, wasn't there? Do you remember the mood in the country at that time?
Absolutely.
The day of the funeral.
Yeah.
But that night it happened. I didn't actually finish working until 2:30 or something the following afternoon, because the next paper out of Kensington offices would have been Monday's Daily Mail. This was such a big, and Evening Standard. This was such a big event that they got permission to run extra editions through the day, all through Sunday. So it was an unheard of operation. And so as the story progressed, as things started popping out, and then as I started getting some background on there and all the cuttings out, so the coverage grew. But it was quite an operation. And Heisel, yes, I was in the in Block Z where all those people died, and it was just the most mad experience, really. I was in the segment for neutrals. I got my ticket on the morning of the match. And I'd only gone. I'm not a Liverpool fan. I just went because I'd never seen a Champions League final, a European Cup final, and it was just a strange thing. When I realised that things were bad, I trolled out the back of the stadium and I saw bodies laid out, covered by flags. But as the helicopters were coming in, the downdraft was blowing all the flags away. And it was quite a horrific sight. And I just got straight into the press box. I walked into the stadium, got straight up into the press box, unchallenged. And I was interviewed for BBC Radio. And that was how my mum knew I was safe, because she knew I'd been over there. But there were no mobile phones. But there I was interviewed on radio, and they used that on TV as well, apparently. So so she was kind of relieved. But that was pretty. And then I stayed on for the rest of the week with the Mail on Sunday to help them with their coverage for the following weekend. And then the Mexico thing, I had a girl who was at that game, been out for the whole month, and we were at the opposite end to the goal. But it was pretty clear, even from wherever you were, that he punched it in. There's no way 5'2" Maradona was going to get up above 6'1" Shilton. Although it has to be said, the pictures I've seen of Shilton, he's barely off the deck. And you think, what are you doing? What are you doing? And it was, that whole tournament was brilliant. It was a great experience. I've never been to a World Cup before or since, but it was the one to be at. It was just, I don't believe we were ever going to win it. I don't think we were good enough, but we certainly gave it a good crack. And but there were all sorts of instances. We stayed with the jocks and had a great time. Stayed away from the England fans, so we were guaranteed a good time. Yeah. And saw lots of games because we were based in Mexico City. We saw Italy, France. We saw all the big sides. And it was just a great experience. And then I got Montezuma's revenge soon after arriving, eating a dodgy salad or something. And I missed the night out. I missed the night out with the jock lads, and they bumped into Rod Stewart, and they ended up going out on the lash with Rod Stewart all night. And I missed that, laid up with the world falling out of my bottom. So that's my Mexico story. So those stories and more are in that one. So it's a good laugh, and I've had really good feedback on that, and I'm grateful for that. But I really wanted to commit to paper before my memory goes, and so it's really a vanity project. It was more for my family and stuff. But I'm pleased other people have enjoyed it.
One question then. So you've obviously seen Maradona in the flesh, watching him play. Obviously, the last couple of days have been a bit crazy with the window shutting. Yesterday, Ronaldo. I was watching Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's interview yesterday before he was then announced as a Man U player. And he said Ronaldo's by far the best football player there's ever been. Would you agree with that?
It's hard to compare with different eras, isn't it, really? Yeah. But Maradona was untouchable when he played against England. He played that World Cup. I suspect he might have been on something that enhanced his performance, but although he did all the tests and didn't get found out, he actually got pulled off with, I think it was Terry Butcher had to do a piss test, and poor Terry Butcher couldn't actually produce for hours. He was stuck in this room with Maradona and wanted to punch him because of the goal. But no, he. Hard to say. Messi's probably the other one you're not mentioned there. But I was looking around. Funny today, we were down the shopping centre, and I saw two little kids separately, within about 5 minutes of each other, wearing Ronaldo shirts, but they were Juventus. And I'm thinking, the poor old dad's going like that, thinking, "Oh no, I've got to buy another shirt now." He's still got the Real Madrid one he's grown out of. And it's Man United, and we hate Man United. I'm just looking at this kind of scenario, and it must be repeated all over, mustn't it?
So Journeyman is a fantastic read. I was glued to it, to be fair. I did it in a few days when I was speaking to you. I think it was during one of the lockdowns, I believe.
Possibly so,
come on. Town's Got Talent. Stevenage has produced some unbelievable athletes, sportsmen and women. Yeah. Tell us about it.
Well, that's just the thing. I've kind of done an analysis with other towns, and I just can't find a similar town size to Stevenage that's produced quite so many amazing sports people. There are all the people in that Sports Hall of Fame. They're quite tight criteria. They're all either internationals, or they've played in the top level of their sport, or they're Olympians or Paralympians or world champions. And there are 3 world champions associated with Stevenage. You know, it does annoy me sometimes, and I think David Croft's probably to blame for this. The boy from Stevenage. That's because there's symmetry there with David from Stevenage reporting on Lewis Hamilton from Stevenage. What odds would you give that? Yeah,
I know. But well, so I know of Lewis. I used to babysit him and his brother.
Is that right?
So a random one. Oh gosh, how long ago? I forget my age now, but that's life, isn't it?
Yeah.
We used to run a kids' activities club, sports club at the leisure centre in the town.
Yeah.
And Nicholas, his brother, and Lewis used to come down for the day, get put in there and looked after young 16, 17-year-old kids. And we'd just play football all day with them or do whatever sports they wanted to do whilst mum and dad would go to work. But I always remember dad coming in, he'd always talk to you about karting. Yeah. Lewis was then put on the Sports Stevenage pathway, so you'd get a bit of funding. So he was allowed to go and use the gym and that. But they were a fantastic family. Absolutely lovely.
Yeah, I've done a piece on Nicholas as well because I thought he was worthy of inclusion, being a driver in his own right and decent as well. And but Dave Croft, I've done a little piece in there. That's one of the problems with it. I started with just the Sports Hall of Fame guys, and then I just thought, but there are people that should be on there. You know, we talked about Sean Brooks earlier. But there are Paul Belgic, won the non-league double. There are so many. There are internationals that are not on there. There's another world champion that's not on there. I don't know if you know, Nicky Pedersen lived in Stevenage for 8 years. World Speedway champion, won 2 titles while he was living there, and popped a child out. So I think he's worthy of inclusion. There are Tim Spears is another one that's on there. He's world land yacht champion. And the thing is, as I was interviewing these people, I'm thinking, I can understand how you became a footballer or you became a cricketer or you used the diving because we had good diving facilities. But how on earth did you become a Derby winning jockey? There isn't a stables for 30 miles around. How on earth did you become a karting chap? I don't know where you do that. And how on earth did you do land yachting? You can't have used Tesco's car park on a Sunday afternoon. And so these skills that people have developed, fencing, all this sort of stuff. And it just kind of opened my eyes to the determination and the different talent that we have in the town. And it's across so many different disciplines, even within athletics, for instance, and gymnastics, Molly Smith, I believe. So
Molly Smith, Sandra Reid very well.
Sandra Reid, absolutely. And these people, all gave their time for interviews, and I've given them the courtesy of letting them just see what I've written about them so that they're happy with it. So I'm not going to get sued. I'm really happy about that. And I wanted it to be, I didn't want it to be a kind of, picking the bones out of people analysis. I wanted it to be a celebration of their talent and to try and encourage people, especially young people after lockdown, to get off their sofas and off their phones and do some sport. I mean, Norma Smith at the athletics club was saying how she reckons lockdowns have cost the club about 100 members. And it's losing interest, and then the transition from junior school to secondary school where they pick up a lot, and they've missed that out because there were no school attendances and no sports clubs.
I saw it the other day that someone was saying, remember if your child's going into year 7, so first year of secondary school, their last untouched full year of school was in year 4.
Yeah.
So that is just, that's it. That's incredible. And you're right. I think we've all got used to sitting around now.
Yeah.
It's quite nice to be comfortable at home in the safety of where you are. And I think a lot of sporting venues in Stevenage have really, really suffered. The one I run, we've lost a lot of members. Sport has come back, but people seem to be shying away. Maybe summer holidays did come at the right time for the infection, but the wrong time for sport. That everyone's kind of sat off. There's holidays, so maybe September. I'm hoping that's when you're really going to see people pushing and get back out there.
I mean, one of the things I was trying to do, but failed unfortunately, is to try to get some sports clubs to offer some freebies and just taster sessions during the half-term holiday in October. And I think if we get some heat behind that, and I'm going to keep pushing that during all the launch events, if somebody would take that on who's got a bit more clout than me, I think it would be a really good way, because people will try a sport perhaps that they wouldn't normally think of, and they found they're really good at. Certain people, I know Suzanne Rabham's a really good gymnast, but before she discovered badminton, although her parents were into badminton, people have other skills. Nick Faldo he's not in the book, he's from Welling Garden City, but he actually he tried cycling and he tried swimming. In fact, I don't know what he still does, but he held a district sports swimming record at Stevenage Ball for for breaststroke. He was really decent at it. So yeah,
thankfully for me, Collinswood school shut, so I still hold the school high jump record.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Was that voluntary?
It was.
You didn't have a teacher's boot up your behind at the time.
It was mainly the long jump that they tried to get me to do. But yeah, high jump record, 1m66, district champion, and it still stands to this day.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Fair play.
So there we go.
But you've got the height advantage. I could walk under that all day long. I wouldn't touch the sides. But yeah, that's brilliant. That's really good. That's a good claim to fame.
Absolutely. Well, you've got to have something of it in your locker. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
So who was your favourite person in the book to interview?
There were so many, really. I really enjoyed talking to Steve Darlow, the basketball player, actually.
Yeah, I watched his Wembley final with the basketball club he played for at Stevenage in the end. We went down there for that.
That's brilliant. But he's someone who shows how you can have a life after sport. You know, he then got into authoring books on Bomber Command, largely because his dad was in Bomber Command and grandfather. He learned stories about his family and then widened that, and then interviewed so many survivors from war missions and that. And he's just written a musical called Spitfire the Musical.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he's written the lyrics to the music. Somebody's written the music, but he's hoping to get it out in the West End. There's a concert of the music coming out in late September, I think. And I think it's just amazing what you can do. The divers were great too. The Frank Duffy and Martin Brown, and
Martin Brown, yeah.
You know Martin from the pool.
So many names to me that I've been around. Sandra Reid.
Yeah.
I've trained with Martin Brown.
Yeah.
He was at the pool with me with Tina Lander, who then went on to coach Tom Daly at the Olympics in Great Britain, which was
absolutely
unbelievable. But you're right, it's just the town is just rife with talent. And going back to sportsmen that have done other sports, there used to be quite a lot of talent ID that took place where you get a rowing team come into your secondary school and say, you know what, son, you might think you're a footballer, but you are built like a rower. You need to go and do it. And I think more of that needs to happen. To be fair, I think
one interesting interview as well was with Oliver James, who's a gold medal Paralympian. He's not disabled. He was the Cox in the fours in Rio, won gold there. And one of the things after that games is he went into a state school, got a job in a state school in Hackney. Now, you can't imagine too many rowing boats in Hackney, but they had a program at the school. And I thought was really brilliant. He wanted to give state school kids a chance to do something that was very elitist, because he himself was a member of the Ander Club, which is Steve Redgrave, Pinson, all these Olympians. And you think, what a great guy to be doing something like that, wanting to give state school kids a shot. And something Graham Bowles was hot on as well. He mentioned the fact that all these people, and there's not one privately educated kid in that book. They've all come through the state education system, and that's a tribute to the state education system. But I do fear that the book is a reflection of a golden age, and that the only kind of people that will come through now, I hope I'm wrong, are the footballers through academies, and maybe some real extraordinary nugget like the table tennis player Ethan Walsh, who's played table tennis for England at every level now.
I regularly play football with him on a Monday night, which is really funny.
Lad. He's a good lad, nice guy. I'm hoping he's going to come to one of the launch events, so that'll be good. But
have you got Gobi in your book?
Gobi's in. Yeah, Gobi's in. What a nice man he is. Yeah. He's a legend. He is. Yeah.
Oh, he's a great guy. I never forget the time when he carried the torch through the Old Town, which was one of my favourite moments, seeing Gobi. And still not an Olympic sport, para badminton, which is heartbreaking for him. He deserves so much from it. He's dedicated his life to it, up and down the motorway, training at all hours and trying to keep a job up. It's just been unbelievable.
While having operations to save his life the whole time. Actually, I think the one story that touched me most of all was that of Martina Barber. Again, you may know. She was born 3 months premature. Parents told her she's only going to live for 10 minutes.
Wow.
And yet, you know, in 2019, there she is in the long jump at the Olympic Stadium at Stratford.
Yeah.
That, if anything, tells you about the struggle for life and to succeed against all the odds, it's that girl. And I think, you know, what an amazing girl she must be, you know.
Amazing.
Well, you know,
Amazing.
I interviewed her with Ros Cramp, her mentor and stuff, and it was a really, it was a difficult interview, but it was a good one, and I got some good stuff out of her. But,
Wow,
you
Ros
know,
Cramp, that reminds me, she did my original MVQ in 1998
oh,
at the
wow.
Leisure Centre.
Really nice lady, yeah, really nice lady. Yeah, I've just got some corrections she sent back, so I've got to tidy that one up before it goes. It's really nice to, and I had a fantastic email from somebody yesterday who I put in touch with Derek Beaumont, the diving coach.
Yeah.
And she'd known him 40 years ago or something. And
wow.
she said, "Oh, I'm so pleased to be able to get back in touch with him again." And I've seen this a few times. I've been able to kind of, you know, push people back to meet old contacts. And it's really, that's been as fulfilling as anything, really, and seeing the book in print or whatever. So, yeah, that's been nice. But Derek, I think, is somebody who, you know, we've got Burt Hill's name on the athletics stadium stand. Yeah. Derek needs his name above the door at the swimming pool. 13, I think it is, Olympians, a world champion, countless national, European and Commonwealth champions. Why does that not happen? Make it happen, please. Somebody make it happen.
Well, as a kid that learned to swim in Stevenage swimming pool, I'm sure there'd be a lot of people asking for Mr. Salmon as well. I don't know if you ever remember.
Yes, Mr. I do remember them. It's such a great name, wasn't it? Great name.
You're going on that top board, and I'm pushing you off.
Yeah. Mr. Salmon, what a great! In fact, I remember my first wedding. I have not had the greatest track record with weddings, but my first marriage was done by Mrs. Death at the register office, the register of births, marriages, and deaths. In fact, it was Mrs. Diath. A kiss of death that we had. It was. I should have known. Really. So, yeah.
But so look, you're not far away from this book being released. When are we going to be able to find it? And you're doing a book launch?
Yeah. I'm doing several. I'm doing one, I think, with SG Radio in the town, SG1 Radio on the 1st, I think. Talking to Slava Budin in the week about that one. And it may be an open studio where people can drop by and pick books up. I'm hoping to get one or two people from the book along, and so they can, you know, have selfies and talk to people and get some books signed by them as well.
Yeah.
And then I've got one with the mayor on the 8th in the morning at the museum, and there's a few other sort of bigwigs coming to that as well. And then the football club in the evening on the 8th, which is an open invitation. Please come along. Yeah. Even if you only just want to come along and pick a book up. I'm hoping to sort of have, I know Ian Allison, Jimmy Gilligan, I think are going to come. Gary Sisman's going to be there. And I'm hoping to get a few other people on stalls, you know, so it will look like a Take That renewed, but very bad Take That tribute band. And I'm going to try to get them to do Relight My Fire. I think that would be a great evening. But just a fun evening of football chat, and it'll be brilliant. I hope everybody comes along that's interested in football and Stevenage comes along, and that's in the 76th suite. And then the final one I've got planned is at Nobel School for their 60th anniversary on the 16th, Saturday 16th. And I've got a stand there, and I think they want to do a few kind of mentor sessions and things, so which would be great. Yeah, so
we can't leave about unless we talk about football, because I know you're a Stevenage fan, like myself. Yeah. We spoke before we recorded this, and we're both two team fans. I'm not anymore. I divorced Arsenal in the summer, and it's worked out quite well since, to be honest with you.
Yes,
it's not bothered me at all. I don't think it's going to bother them either.
Some poor other sods got them now.
Yeah,
the second wives club.
Our football team, Stevenage FC, we're on the up, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely. When you think what the virus, I mean, actually, this is payback for all the good work they did during the coronavirus crisis.
Oh, thanks.
The work in the community was just, I mean, if anything said, you do not go down out of that League Two, it's the work they did, you know, and they deserved to. They were actually Premier League during all that.
Yeah, and, I fully agree. I was one of the volunteers, and you know what? For me, it was just getting out of the house, to be honest with you. I mean, I live a couple of 100 metres away from the ground anyway, so it was always going to be easy for me to do. But as soon as they said, "Can you come and do it?" I was like, 100%.
Yeah.
And, you know, the story should get told. I mean, I remember knocking on the door once on a Monday to a lady near Oaks Cross, and she said to me, "It's lovely to speak to you. Have you got a minute?" And she didn't. I don't think it was about the sandwich. it was about the conversation. She said,
Yeah.
I've not seen anyone since the last sandwich was dropped on a Friday.
Oh.
And for me, that was it. I got back in the car. I think I rang my wife. Steve Watkins and Dean were also messaged going, I just can't believe this. And, you know, it was just incredible what they managed to do.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. So that absolutely, you know, it's a class act, Stevenage Football Club. And I think it deserves wider recognition for that.
Yeah.
And of course they're in the Hall of Fame, so they get 6 pages in the book, and I chart the kind of more recent history, and there's an interview in there with Graham Wesley as well, and John Ashton, and a few of the other key movers and shakers in that, Ronnie Henry, who were key figures in getting them there, but also an acknowledgement, which we talked about earlier, of the people who did the spade work in the 90s, getting them out of, you know, the lower reaches of the game into the higher reach. And actually, when you think they came within a game of the championship, in today's parlance, that's a Wimbledon thing, isn't it? That's a real kind
unreal.
of
Unreal.
It's such a shame, but I think the biggest shame is that we don't get bigger gates down there. You know, I just think it's so sad that ground isn't full every week.
Oh no, and you know the atmosphere has changed though for me. You know, since the fans have come back, I think the fans that we've got actually appreciate it more now.
Yes,
they've come back into a ground and there's noise. There's all 3 Stevenage fan stands are making noise, and I don't think I've ever seen that ever. I mean, I'm talking about following Stevenage from the mid '80s, I guess. Trying to remember some old faces from them, but I really can't. I really struggle.
Yeah.
I remember being patted on the head on the old tunnel as Emmeline Hughes ran out once. But for me, I got a message the other day from Tony Ward, and I had to ask him. I was like, "Is this the Tony Ward?" And he's like, "What do you mean the Tony Ward?" I went, "Well, I only know one." And I was like, "Mate, you are a legend." And like for me, seeing him, Sean Debenham running around kicking people in the air and players like that, that's where my love from the club comes from. So
you'll know the
now,
printer.
it's incredible.
You'll know the printer of this book anyway. It's Andy Lomas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's doing it all. And he gives round here to drop off some dummy copies on Thursday. I could have chatted all night, but I had to get back to work, unfortunately. But it was great. I mean, he's playing in this game on the 5th. I think he may see quite a bit of game time, to be honest. He still looks fit enough to play. But what a lovely guy. And I'm so pleased that it's kind of almost in-house, almost, you know, when you've got someone definitely like that printing it's worth it for that.
Definitely. So obviously, as we've said, next Sunday, the 5th of September, obviously some really sad news about Martin Gittins and his deteriorating health, which is really sad because he's a legend, top goal scorer for the football club. And you've had a hand in helping this get over the line.
Yeah. I've done the brochure for the game, and it's been a real pleasure. And I think it looks. I'm very pleased with it. There's a lot of stuff in there for people to read. There's stuff on Paul Fairclough and Barry Fry, and all. I've managed to cobble the pen pictures together somehow. I don't know. You know, it's not the easiest thing. Finding old pictures of Barnet players is not easy online, and some of them are not flattering, I have to say. You know, but it's going to be great. I hope Barnet bring a few fans as well to see their old heroes. It could be a great. I just hope people do turn out. I can't be there because I'm in Cornwall, unfortunately, the long planned family holiday in the Plague universe down there. But I do hope that everybody has a great day and someone films it and I can see bits of it and that the family have a great day. I don't know whether Martin's going to be well enough to go. I guess I don't know whether you know.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure either. To be fair, I mean I spoke to Debs last night. We're looking to trying to help get it recorded, which I think would be just fantastic to be able to have it actually on a copy for the next generation to watch. Really.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when you look at what he achieved, he's more than 100 goals than I think Morrison's the closest to him. And nobody will ever touch that thing because they won't be at the club long enough. If they're any good, they'll move on, and if they're not, they won't be there. So that record will stand forever. And but what a nice guy, Neil Treble, in his introduction tells. I won't spoil it because he tells some lovely stories about how he worked with Martin in the community in a community program.
Yeah, that's right. They did at the EPCO scheme.
Yeah, and around the country as well. And what a wonderful human being he is. And I was genuinely upset when I heard he was not well. You know, just just you know, I know his brother Peter, and I'm interviewing Peter for the thing as well. And Sam's been great. He's been keeping me busy with stuff for the program. He's got, you know, pictures of his. I think it's about
my first professional meeting with Martin Gittins, and I nearly fell over. I think it was him and Colin Cardines came to the school, and they're like, "Oh, we wanted to open a Liverpool academy in Stevenage," and I was like, "What?" And it was just amazing. I had a half-hour chat conversation with him, with the head teacher, and it was just fantastic. And then I found out he was working for other people, but yeah, I had quite a lot to do with him, and it was just fantastic. But I will never ever forget walking into Broadwell Way, as it was then, collecting my Gitsy's Up magazine from Peter Humphreys.
Yes.
Walking into the ground and standing there on the terrace, just reading it. Phenomenal. So let's hope next Sunday's going to be great.
My mum sees quite a lot of Peter Humphreys because he's a school crossing bloke, isn't he? Down at the road.
Indeed.
And so she sees him there with his lollipop now and again, and that's great. That's great. People like that, you know, they deserve, you know, all the applause going, because they've been loyal to the club and done so much for the club, supported the club. It's really good.
Well, look, Paul, it's been fantastic talking to you today.
Yeah,
thanks so much.
My pleasure.
For people that don't know anything about it, but you need to find them because they're absolutely thrilling. This one particularly, I absolutely loved. And
just search it out on Amazon or come to my. If you look at Paul Fry Books online, you'll find a Facebook page at Paul Fry Books, and the previous ones are nested a bit further down now. But this new one, there's loads of gubbins on that. I'm going to be hitting the social media blitz over the next month and dribbling out bits and pieces. So,
and next time we're in Stevenage, we're going for a coffee.
We certainly are, at the very least, yeah. And I'll be fine. So, good
lovely. Well, thanks so much for today, Paul.
Pleasure, mate. You enjoy yourselves, yeah. And
thank you.
Borough win later as well. That will be nice.
Yeah, definitely up the Borough all the way.
Cheers, buddy. Look after yourself.
Cheers.
Cheers, Jay.